Hi there, Gary here again, and in this video I want to talk about how you can get the most out of your practical in-car training sessions. So what do I mean by that? Well, you can go along to your practical training sessions and expect to be taught something and learn something, but unless you are ready for it and prepare for it, you're not going to get the most out of it. And there are certain things that you can do during the session as well which will help you get more out of it after the event. So preparation, I think, is the main first point that I want to talk about, because your preparation is very, very important. It's no use just turning up to a training session and expecting the trainer to kind of wave a magic wand and it all goes in your head. There's a lot of things involved in each of the elements that you're going to be covering during your training. So prepare for the training session that you're going to be doing. You should have an idea of what the content is going to be before you turn up for that training session. The trainer should have told you what to prepare for, and so it will probably be based around a subject, but the trainer will be developing your skills within that subject. So the subject is kind of a vehicle to develop your skills. In theory, the subject knowledge or the content of the subject should already be in place, because you've done part 1 and you've done part 2, so you should have been driving to the standard that's required for that particular subject. But do you fully understand the subject? Do you really know it inside out? And that's what you need to do before you go to your training session, is prepare as much as you can for the subject that you're going to be teaching and the real detail of it. So get into the books, find out as much as you can about that subject, and also watch what you do as you drive through that subject and analyse what you do and how you do it, so that you're prepared as much as you can be to deliver the content of that subject. Also, you can practice talking yourself through the subject, so that you can practice maybe guided instruction through a particular subject, or prompted instruction, or independent if it's second phase, so that you've done some practice in the practical element of it and you're not just going to turn up to the training session cold. So preparation is very, very important, and the more time you spend on that, the more you'll get out of your training session. If you're prepared for your training session, then the next little tip is to record the training session. I don't mean by video, although you could do, I suppose, but I'm talking more about an audio recording. So most people have got a mobile phone these days which has got the facility to record audio, and I would recommend that you do record the training session, because there's going to be an awful lot of things that the trainer will say to you, awful lot of points that at the time you might understand and make sense to you, but you might forget them afterwards. So going back over it on a recording several times will make it sink in a lot better, and you could always make notes after the event rather than during the session, which could take up a little bit more time as well. Taking notes during the session is a good idea if you've not got the facility to record it, but I would certainly recommend, if you can, recording the training session and then listen to it as many times as you can before the next training session, and develop any points that have been brought up, write them down so that you've got it there. The next thing to think about is to stay in the car. Now, what do I mean by that? When you're in the training environment, there's an awful lot of things to think about and to do and to take on board, and it's quite an intense time that you're in the car. So usually the training sessions will be at least an hour, usually 2 hours or even more. And during that time, it's very difficult to keep your concentration going. But do try to stay in the car. When you're in the car, be in the car. Try not to let your mind wander elsewhere and start thinking about what you're going to have for tea and things like that. So try and concentrate as much as you can on what's happening within the car. Usually, if it's a long training session, the trainer will break it down a little bit. And if you're doing paired training, that's a good thing to do as well, because you can sit in the back and watch what the other trainee is doing and learn from that. But do take notice of what they're doing. Don't just think, oh well, it's their turn now, I'll switch off and have a bit of a doze in the back. Think about what they're doing, really concentrate on it, get as much as you can out of that training session, because it's really valuable and you'll have paid quite a lot of money for that. So do try and pay attention all the time. Another thing to think about is to ask questions. A lot of people don't ask as many questions as they should. They'll just take things on face value from what the trainer's said. If you don't understand something, or you don't agree with something, then mention it, talk about it, ask questions, find out why they've asked you to do it that way, and find out if you don't understand something, go into more depth with it to find out the background to it, if you like, or get a better understanding of it. So it's very important to do that, because I understand that you might feel a little bit like you can't ask something because you might feel like a fool. You might think, well, it should be obvious to me, I should know that, so I daren't ask it. But do ask the trainer something that you're not sure of, even if it seems stupid or obvious. They're not going to worry, because their job is to develop you, and they need to help you as much as they can, and they can only do that if you tell them when you're confused about something. So if something doesn't make sense, you're not sure about something, you want to explain it more, then ask and talk about it and discuss it. And also, as I said before, don't just take things on face value. Don't just think, well, the trainer's told me to do that, it must be right. If it doesn't sound quite right, or you think there might be a better way of doing something, then bring it up, talk about it, discuss it in the car. And usually the trainer will be able to tell you why they've chosen that way of doing it, and hopefully you'll buy into that and understand why it was a better way to do it. So there's some general tips on how to get the most out of your training session, and hopefully they've helped you, and hopefully you'll go and do that. Look forward to seeing you again soon.